G'day guys, welcome to the Fish Bowl. We're here at the Black House in Merriweather, a home made by Made, and we're sitting here with Ruby Marsh, a women's life and career coach. Ruby, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So you've been a life and career coach for women for a couple of years now, but you haven't always been in that industry. So tell me a little bit about how you got to where you are now.
Yep. A little bit of an unusual story in that I had a pivot in my career going on 6 years ago now. So I actually studied here in Newcastle to be an architect, and I was in that profession up until right before my 30th birthday. I kind of looked at my bosses and the people around me and the way I was working, the nature of the work, and I said to myself, I just don't think this is it. There's more to me and there's more that I can offer the world. So it was a big call because, as you know, if you've studied for something for several years and really, you know, grinding it out to get to that point, it's your whole identity.
Absolutely.
So big change, and I decided that what I wanted to do was really move into work that was more aligned with my values and looking for companies that shared that same value set.
Absolutely, yeah.
Had a mission that I was like, I want to get behind that. Like that's
cool.
Really cool, really fun. And so I literally, an exercise that I get my clients to do, I literally wrote out my top 10 companies, and some of them were all over Australia, and I put my finger on Lululemon, and at the time my sister-in-law had been working for them. Okay. And she gave me, you know, a kind word, and I ended up working in store thinking that I would end up designing stores for Lululemon. So as it so happened, as I got into that job, I loved being on the retail floor, and I had a lot of opportunities to develop my team and lead my team and really understand at the core what leadership was, from all these levels of, you know, leading an organization, leading a team at a store level, but then also leading yourself, and how important that was. And that led me into a lot of coaching and a lot of development. And from there, I got the bug, and I said, I've got to create my own business around this. So
love it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And here you are today.
I know, in a beautiful architecturally designed house. So
I know, it's fate. It's fate. So would you say that that experience, taking on your own team, is really where you started to develop all those leadership skills? And
100%, because leadership is one of those things where recently I've done a lot of work with Brene Brown's Dare to Lead program, and she really specifically talks about leadership as not being about titles, but your capacity to show up and create change wherever you are, and be a voice and develop people. Inspire, absolutely. Yeah. And so I fell quite naturally into that. Yeah. I never considered myself as a leader. I never grew up wanting to be a leader. Yeah. But I think I'd started on this path of making decisions that were heart-driven, more about my intuition and what that was telling me, and that just felt right.
Moving from a career in architecture, having studied that for so long, and having that at the center of what you do, you know, it's quite a big move being able to say, hey, I'm completely pivoting from what I'm doing now and reestablishing my whole identity. Mm-hmm. Does a lot of that come into what you teach as well?
Yes, and yeah, you've absolutely nailed it on the head, and that's such a great observation because you know, I'm a bit of a reinvention specialist now. Because I've gone through so many reinventions, in my career. But something that I love to tell women is that reinvention is not something to be feared. It's actually quite normal. You know, we go through seasons every single year. Right. You know, a woman, our body goes through changes on a monthly basis. So don't don't feel like you always have to be on that steady path, because I think you've got to start to listen to those things that really light you up and get you excited, and look at feedback from your environment, from the people around you that are saying, hey, that's you're in your zone of genius there, or that's a really strong skill, and then taking those things and then being able to reinvent yourself time and time again, because you're so clear on those things. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's so important to be open to the change, because as soon as you're closed off, you just ignore so many potential possibilities and avenues to go down to reinvent yourself.
It's a hard thing though, because like you said before, this was my identity. I saw myself on a certain path as an architect, and I had very externally motivated goals, and I looked to the outside world, she's making it, she's working for one of the top firms in Australia, all of these things, ticking the right boxes. And so when you do make a reinvention, I just want to say that also a lot of fear can come up, because you're going to have to stand alone in that process, and that's really scary for a lot of people. So whilst I'm all for reinventing yourself and embracing it, it's also realizing that this might be a slow, organic process, and to have some compassion and take it step by step, because suddenly you're not that person you used to be anymore. And yes, you're moving towards what you want to be doing, but it's going to throw up all of these things. So
it's huge. Thinking you were obviously in a role that was considered quite successful. People would look at that and say, "Oh, wow, you've made it. You're up where you wanted to be when you first started studying." I'm sure there's a lot of women who are in roles that they consider to be the peak of where they're going to go, but it's not. It might not necessarily be where they want to be. What are some of the telltale signs of self-diagnosing? Is this path right for me? Am I do I need to reinvent myself and find something else?
Great question, because I think we're living in an interesting time, and we have so much information coming at us. So for us to be able to filter through all of that noise, a lot of people say, oh, it's about getting inspiration and things like that, but at times it can be quite overwhelming. So sometimes that the first place that I start with people, and it's not necessarily a sign, I think there's a couple of things. The first place that I like to start is by introducing practices that are going to allow them to get space from all of those inputs.
Okay.
So ways of getting clarity that work for you, that don't necessarily have to be, you have to go and do meditation every day for 28 days, but how can you find space in your life? Because that's when the answers will come. They might not come in that time, but you've at least allowed your brain to settle.
For sure.
Especially if you're feeling quite unsettled.
Absolutely.
And then the second thing is, and this is probably a bit more personal, for me, it was very much my body was telling me. Yeah. And I think in this day and age, women have so much opportunity and access to so many different success pathways. But sometimes that can have us removed from our bodies a little bit disconnected. We're really up in our heads, we're strategizing. If your body is telling you that you're a bit out of sync, your cycle's not working, your immunity's down, we don't have as robust nervous systems as what guys do. Okay. So that's often a pretty big sign for a lot of women. And ignoring that, because often the body is just a reflection of what's going on in the mind, right? We all know stress. When we're stressed, that's when we get sick.
You get sick, absolutely, yeah.
So it's being able to not ignore that and go, okay, like I need to create some space. That doesn't mean I quit my job and I go off for a year and travel. It might be. That might be a really great solution. And I'm all for that as well. But how can we get you some space and support you through this process? Another thing I think is I spoke in the beginning about my story, and it was this misalignment that I was feeling. So if you're kind of feeling that uneasy feeling and you are waking up with anxiety, which was something that I experienced for a lot of years in my role, listen to that as well.
Yeah.
And maybe you are anxious, but maybe you're anxious because it's just not the right fit for
Absolutely,
you at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So that's a few things that I would be looking out for sure.
Yeah, great advice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk business.
Yes.
All right. Where you are now, you seem to be everywhere. Very successful with, you are with what you're doing at the moment. And it's because you have a great product, and obviously it's resonating with people really well.
Thank you.
So what do you find has been the secret to growing your brand to where it is now?
I would say that actually it's navigating this balance between offline and online communication.
Yeah.
And for me, knowing also what my bigger goals are and working towards those with small steps and getting practiced at those things such that I can sit with you and be really clear in my message and be really clear in what I teach.
For sure.
Because I've spent weeks and weeks on end doing YouTube videos.
Right.
And like literally, every single week for the past year. Now I've converted that into a podcast. But it's about finding those ways that you can start to hone your message in small doses over and over again. Because a lot of people, they go, I've got a great idea for a business. I've got to go get a logo. I've got to go get a website. I've got to get all this external stuff.
Yeah, the visual stuff.
They're not really clear on who they want to serve and, not necessarily even how they want to help them, but what they're helping them with.
Sure.
And that what is usually a more of an internal motivation.
And why?
Yeah. So you need to find ways that you can get clear on that. Sometimes that is by working all of that out first and then taking the product to market. Or in my case, it was actually getting out there without being 100% clear in the beginning.
For sure.
And the other thing I would say is, and that's helped me then to be in front of live audiences, teaching in workshops, speaking and things like that, knowing I can do this because I've actually been doing this for the last 3 years. It's just been in the comfort of my own home.
Yeah, in front of the camera.
And then the other thing I would say is get out and practice your craft from day one.
Amazing.
Yeah, because I don't know. I had a vague idea of how I could help women, but until I saw them coming to me time and time again with the same problems, that I could go, that is where I really want to work. That's really my niche.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm most confident, and I know I can really powerfully help them.
Sure.
So without actually being in conversation with real people, not conversations on Instagram, but sometimes that works, like, dropping into people's DMs and all of that kind of stuff that we love to do. But get in front of people, have a conversation 100%. Like this, see their body language, see when they're lit up, when they're like, oh, I don't know.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah. Listening to that feedback loop where you put a message out there, listen to the feedback, tweak it, and then understand like that communication from your customer back to you.
Yes.
A lot of what we talk about is how businesses can use video to communicate to their customers and get their message out there. How have you found that you create a lot of your own content, a lot of your own sort of educational content that's helpful to people? How have you found that has helped your brand grow?
Well, I think for me, like it goes back to those bigger goals that I've had in terms of I've got some bigger speaking goals on the list, on the bucket list.
Okay,
So
nice.
video allows people to see that you're a real person, to see how you connect, to have eye contact. If you can, if you can get to a point where you're confident enough that you can look that camera in the eyes and pretend that there's a client on the other side of the camera. So video is really key, especially for me, for building those skills for those bigger things that I want to do.
For sure.
And I think that the type of women that I attract as well, they are, usually they consider themselves pretty driven, pretty creative, especially, even if they're not using their creativity in their current work. And so they're looking for someone that mirrors that creativity. So if I'm just putting up stock photos and, stuff that doesn't really communicate me and who I am, they're not going to get a sense of, do I want to work with this person? Like, does she capture my attention? Do I feel instantly comfortable when I watch her video? So I would say video is amazing. And the sooner people can get behind a camera and start communicating, it's going to help everything else that you do.
And it starts that conversation where you're communicating to your audience, and then they have the opportunity to talk back to you and give you feedback on what you're talking about.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So video isn't just an opportunity to practice refining your message, but creating that content also really helps you build that tribe and that audience. How have you found that creating the video content has helped people really build a relationship with your brand and an attachment to your journey and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, so the way that I do a lot of my video content, it is teaching based.
Sure. And
opportunities for people to, I'm not just teaching them something, but also hopefully they can take that and do something with it.
For sure.
Or they, so I do a lot of masterclasses is a lot of the ways that I use video content as well. So getting right in there and having people be able to, within an hour, make some sort of change in their life. So that is where I use video content to build a tribe of women that are taking this and straight away, they're not just inspired. It's not a great Will Smith,
not just
spiel.
an inspirational thing. It's practical.
He's very good at that. So, peace to you, Will.
Peace, Will. Hope you're watching, mate.
But something that they can actually go, oh, I can do that in my life.
Yeah.
That's not unachievable.
I can implement that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think when you're creating a tribe of people that are creating change, they're getting a status upgrade. And when they get a status upgrade, that's when they start telling their friends, oh, I did this masterclass and then I actioned this change in my life. And now I meditate every day, or I finally got a handle on my schedule because Ruby taught me this amazing way to, create a schedule in a few minutes, or I've got this journaling practice. So quite recently I created an offer, which is the opt-in on my website.
Okay.
And it's a journaling practice called Pages of Possibility.
Sure.
And it's very, very new, but I'm using a lot of video content to communicate that. So that will be used in Facebook ads.
Yep.
It will be also used in daily or frequent, not daily, but pretty frequent sharing of this offering.
Yep.
And the idea of that is that it's really something really easy and something that people can jump on and create a change in their life by doing these 4 questions called the Pages of Possibility.
Okay.
And it takes 5 minutes. It's super cool, and I'm
That's
super
cool.
proud of it.
That's awesome, yeah.
And so this is creating a tribe of people that are instantly changing their life on a daily basis.
Amazing.
And these 4 questions are so powerful that you can start to take action on the things that you want in your life.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden it's all these people that are going after their dreams.
Yeah.
And coming back to the video though, it's about constantly putting that in front of people and saying this has the power to change your life, and I stand behind it, and I'm doing this practice. Look, so I have myself doing this practice on, I do it every day, but I'm filming it every few days and putting it up on Instagram so that it's there and it's present, and they know that I do my own work as well.
Yeah, exactly. You practice what you preach.
Yeah.
There's so many businesses that could benefit from putting a resource out there, like in their niche, that would help someone achieve whatever they're trying to do.
Yes.
And I think that, if businesses started implementing that and figuring out how can I do that, but in my industry, I'm a builder, how can I put a resource out there that helps my customers? It's not only just helping people, do something, but it's also creating a referral system, like you said, where they talk to their friends and say, hey, I just did this great thing because of this free book I downloaded of this company.
And it's valuable content, and what that leads to, just to quote a bit of Seth Godin, but it leads to trust and attention.
For sure.
And attention is the commodity of this age, right?
Yeah, it is everything.
Everything. It's even, how I maintain my marriage is how much attention is there, how much presence.
For sure.
So if we think about that in a business relationship with our customers, it's thinking not how can I get quick wins for them. Yes, that thing might give them a quick win, but it's also building this trust and attention with them such that to go back to Lululemon, we always thought of our customers as guests for life.
Yeah.
So if you want to create customers that come back to you time and time again, you need to be maintaining trust and attention with them. That's
awesome.
Really what it's about. It's not, and especially with coaching, it's a highly emotionally driven thing. So I'm not saying, hey, I'm going to give you exactly what you want in 90 minutes kind of thing, and then you're done.
Yeah,
No, this is a process, and this is a lifelong commitment, and I'm in this with you. Yeah. So,
love it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So talking about back to really quickly the funnel side of things. You have a funnel in your business that you use to generate new business.
Yes.
A lot of people, when they think of a funnel, think that it has to be like salesy and fake and tricking people into becoming a customer. Whereas it doesn't have to be like that, right? Like a funnel is just building a relationship with someone and helping them along a journey. So how does, tell me about your funnel and how that works in helping you generate business.
Yeah, and a great analogy that we used to use is that if you're going to propose to someone, you're not going to do it on the first date. So think about it as if you're courting someone.
Right.
And you want to show up with some roses the first night, and then you take them to this special place, and then, all of these things. And so I think if you think about it like that, it's not, here's all of my stuff right at once. You need to jump on and book a call with me, and then we'll start coaching. It's, hey, here's a little something that might help you. And then here's something else. And let's go a little bit deeper on this. So it's like adding layers, and it's going to be different for every type of business. I'm a bit of a unique service. A product-based business might be a little bit different. A service that's a commodity, tradies and things like that, that's often something that we need now.
Yeah.
But in saying that, if you're in a competitive market,
Yeah.
how are you going to stand out? How are you going to be unique, and how are you going to do things differently from everyone else? So,
Amazing.
yeah.
Especially in high ticket businesses where you're selling a service that isn't just, I can pull out my wallet and pay for it now. It's important that you're building that relationship, starting that conversation.
Yeah.
That's so awesome, and I hope heaps of people got some useful information out of that. If you want more Ruby Marsh, go check out our podcast, True to You.
Yes.
It's available on Apple Podcasts,
Spotify. Yep.
And the rest.
Yep. And Instagram. I love hanging out on Instagram.
And go check her out on Instagram.
Ruby K Marsh.
Ruby K Marsh.
Yeah.
Ruby, thank you so much. You're absolutely inspirational,
Thank you.
And what you're doing is so cool. The way you're helping people, it's really awesome.
So kind.
We love it. So look, thanks so much for coming on the Fishbowl, and special thanks to Made for letting us have this amazing architecturally designed home.